Hello and welcome to the second episode of our Stadium Review series. I'm joined by Tom again, as I will be throughout this series, as we review all the grounds we've both been to and talk about the pros, the cons, and rank them on 4 certain areas. So firstly, before we go any further, we started with Accrington last time out, so make sure you click in the eye above to check that one out. But we are going to be focusing on the second one in the alphabet we've both been to today, which is Barnsley. Now, there's going to be some very unique features about this one from my side. I'm waiting to see what Tom will have for it. But we're going to be ranking them on the same 4 areas. So atmosphere, location, value for money and character. And then myself and Tom will give them our overall as a result of that. If you've been to the ground yourself and you've got any views on it, let us know down in the comments. And just like the first episode, I will pre-warn fans of the club that we will likely offend you if we say something negative, because it's your ground. You're going to love it, of course. But we try to be impartial, so let's start with Barnsley. And we'll start with the stats. The stats of Barnsley's ground, Oakwell, it is a pretty big stadium, a bit of a step up from Accrington. 23,287 is the capacity. Built in 1887, one of the oldest grounds about. Even older than Luton Town's ground, which we'll get to later on in the series. It was renovated quite heavily in the 90s, though. Only one stand remaining that's really old school, which we saw when we went there. We visited Tom in 2018 for a 3-2 defeat for Luton Town. You may remember it was a midday kickoff, so an early morning for the both of us. But again, not too far from where you are up north. So give me your initial thoughts on Oakwell.
Yeah, I'm just trying to wrap my brains. What can I remember about the day? So yeah, I do remember it being a midday kickoff on Sky, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Possibly the first ground I went to in Yorkshire. Can't think I'd been to another one before that. So yeah, fairly local. Now I live in Leeds. And just trying to wrap my brain thing. You said there's something you're going to say. I'm curious to know what you're going to say about it. I remember, again, having a decent walk uphill to the ground.
Wasn't as long though.
No, not as long as Accrington. And then is the one really old stand as we were sat in the away end on our
to the right.
on your right, yeah.
So the west stand there, yeah.
Quite, yeah, historic. I didn't realise it was as old as that. The 1800s. Jesus, that's impressive. Yeah, good 23,000. That's a good capacity. Sort of ground I'd think like that ideally Luton would have when it's second one. That's the kind of capacity we'd like, isn't it, for our club?
Yeah, eventually, yeah, agreed.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm intrigued. What are you going to say?
So the first thing I remember about Barnsley generally, and obviously we talk, as you didn't mention in the first episode, that we go to all the grounds via public transport. So it's something that's quite crucial to me. Now, I remember getting off the train at Barnsley, and the thing that I found unique is you had to walk across the tracks to go towards the city centre or the town centre. So you came out of the station, you had to walk across. There was a level crossing to get into the town centre. That was the one thing I really remember from it.
Weirdly, I remember maybe the street when we've crossed. There was a street and it had like a weird, for some reason, it had a German name. It's named. That's what sticks in my mind.
Yeah,
I remember.
Maybe.
I've got a close friend who's fluent in German, and I think it was like named after a town or the state where he lived. And yeah, that's a weird thing that just sticks in your mind. Again, like we said, that's what's good about traveling to these towns that you wouldn't normally go to on public transport, especially. You see little bits and things just stick in your mind. So maybe someone in the comments can let me know what random German street name I'm thinking of.
And then they'll slag us off for whatever we say negatively in a minute. So I want to talk about the game itself. It was quite a good game, footballing wise. It was entertaining. It was 3-2. There were lots of goals, obviously. Wasn't the best for us as Luton. I remember the performance being really poor, and 3-2 was quite generous in itself, I think. James Collins scored both of ours. But the interesting fact in that game, from a Luton point of view for us, was that Cameron McGee, a former Luton player, scored the second goal for Barnsley.
He did.
And it was set up by George Moncur, who dribbled around half our team and then joined us in January and helped us win the league.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, McGee and... Am I right in saying that he got a bit of a split of receptions? He got some claps, but then he obviously scored and celebrated. So did he get booed off a little bit of booing as well? But generally held in good regard by the Luton fans, isn't he? Did a lot during the promotions and the conference days.
Yeah.
And yeah, George Moncur, of course, signed in January. I don't really know the full story of what happened to him. Yeah, he seemed to play really well at that point, and then I remember the Barnsley fans on like Twitter were saying, "We don't care that he's going to Luton. He doesn't. He's a nothing player for us,"
Yeah,
kind of
he
thing.
just sort of dropped out the team a couple of months before the window, probably not long after that actually, and then turned up with us and helped us pit Barnsley to the title. So it was a bit of an interesting narrative from his point of view, but an
Scored a couple
entertaining
of good free
game.
kicks, didn't he?
Yeah,
During that, during
well,
that.
more than a couple in the end. He nearly scored everyone he took, didn't he? We had our own set piece specialist at that stage, which was George Grant, who scored a free kicks, but not in that game, unfortunately for us. Let's talk about the parts of the game. Atmosphere. I remember it being decent for Barnsley's end, but from our ends, for Luton, it was quite hard. We'd normally have big away followings, but it's a 12 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday and it's on TV, isn't it? So
Yeah, we can blame Sky for that one, can we? Midday kickoffs aren't ideal, especially when you're travelling quite a distance, Luton to Yorkshire. So yeah, again, don't remember it being rocking.
and again,
Same as Accrington.
yeah, and again, I guess for October they did quite well in a sense because they managed to pick what was eventually the title decider as their game in October. Which how they managed to figure that out, I don't know, because Luton was struggling then.
Yeah. Where did Barnsley finish?
Second, just behind us. We only won it on the last day. Yeah.
Hmm. Did Luton have a goal chalked off that was probably onside? Have I got that
I
wrong?
I seem to remember that. See, that was the first thing I was doing when I was researching this was looking out for that because I'm sure I remember that happening. I'm sure I remember a friend of ours, Greeny, texting us to say
So
that
definitely
was
on.
definitely a goal.
Yeah, I
But
remember that.
I've looked through the Nathan Jones comments after the manager at the time. I've looked through the Sky Sports match report, the Luton match report. There's no mention of it. So I don't know. But I'm so sure it happened.
Oh, we have to upgrade our sources then, because Greeny definitely did tell us on WhatsApp. He was onside by a mile. So
Which is as
we'll
professional as
we'll,
you can get.
we'll blame Greeny for that one.
So let's talk about the areas. Obviously, atmosphere. We mentioned there are mitigating circumstances. It was a 12 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday. It was on TV. It was a pretty good atmosphere, but I wouldn't say it was rocking. And there were definitely some gaps in the stands. And I guess Barnsley at that stage didn't know they were going to be in a title race. So what would your ranking out of 10 be for that one?
I'm gonna play it safe with a 6, I think.
That's fair enough. To be honest, I would edge it towards 7 just because it was quite an old school ground with a bit of atmosphere. And considering the circumstances, the atmosphere was pretty good in my opinion.
Okay.
Location. So you've mentioned already my least favourite thing, which is an uphill walk. And obviously it was not too far from the town centre. There were a few unique features on the way, as we've already alluded to. Remembering things outside the ground's always a good side for a town, I guess. What were you make of the location? I thought it was pretty decent.
Yeah, straightforward enough. Just that walk uphill, but you're just being lazy, really. It's not the most difficult workout, is it? So I'll give it a 7.
Yeah, I'd say the same. I guess again, public transport was really easy to get to, which is always going to be the key feature in our location, as well as just the directness to the ground from the station. I guess it's always going to feature the public transport bit.
What I do remember on that walk up the hill is they were blasting out a bit of Dua Lipa before kickoff, and I said,
I'd
"Oh,
never heard of it.
what a song!" I don't know who it is. I was like, "How can you not know who Dua Lipa is? Do you live under a rock?"
I couldn't remember what ground that was. I do remember that happening.
Yeah, a bit of Dua, but no, he didn't know who she was.
Yeah, you just started randomly humming along to a tune that I'd never heard of, but there we go. Probably says more about you than me, that one.
We'll see. Comments
Moving,
below.
yeah, comments below. You can have a vote on that. Value for money. That's the next one. So the ticket prices remarkably were just under £20 for that one. They were £18, which again, it was probably reduced slightly because it was a Saturday lunchtime on TV. But for what you get for the old school ground, a good ground, it was Premier League in the 90s. I don't think we can really complain about it, can we?
No. So did you say Accrington before was 23?
Accrington was 20.
20, sorry. But that was League Two.
That was in League Two.
So we're talking, and then
This was League One.
in a proper big, like decent ground. Yeah. No, I didn't know the price. I'd forgotten, but that's good. I'm quite happy with that.
I'm going to give it a 8 out of 10. What about yourself?
I'll match you. I'll give that an 8 as well. 18's a fair price, I think, for League One.
Very good. I'm happy with that. I'd be interested to see what it would have been if it was a 3 o'clock kickoff. That's my only comment I will make on that one. So if any
Yeah.
Barnsley fans can tell us what the general admission was on a normal day, then that would be appreciated.
Good point. That's a good point.
And then finally, probably the one that I'm going to give it the most for, and it's probably one that sets it out as one of the best grounds for me, is character. Because we've mentioned that old stand, and it's something that, like, I'd heard about Barnsley's ground being a Premier League ground, 23,000 seater. I'm going to be honest, I didn't do great research into it before we turned up there. And I was a bit surprised to see an old fashioned wooden like stand with two tiers and a corrugated iron roof, which, is probably the closest thing I've seen to Luton's main stand in a sense, which I found quite unique and
Hmm.
quite enticing as a football fan doing a 92. So, what about yourself?
Yeah, I really like that. And if I might be mixing up my grounds here, forgive me if I am, but I feel like there was like a chippy like nearby obviously, and I just remember like having that kind of old school, like quite homely, like
Well, it was at the end
proper
of a
football
big
ground.
terrace road, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So,
that kind of thing. Yeah, again, like parallels
yeah.
with Luton. So yeah, I agree with that. And am I making like in my head more romantic than it was? But were most of the fans also in that stand? Was that quite a packed stand
There were a lot
compared to
of
the rest
fans
of?
in there. Yeah, it's a well loved vantage point for
Yeah,
many
maybe,
of the older generation
maybe a few
fans.
season ticket holders
A lot of
choose that.
flags in there as well. Yeah, it's quite nice.
Yeah, that stand's quite a defining feature. I like that.
And
Hmm.
obviously the rest of it's renovated and is quite a lovely modern stadium, but it's still got that old school touch while being a good Premier League ready ground, which for me is a lovely unique thing for us on the 92. Something that I remember as distinctly about the ground without even looking into it.
I think I want to add something here. I think like Luton, obviously, for those that aren't aware, we are more than aware of this. Luton spent far too long in the non-league playing up
Yeah.
piss poor grounds. Was this the first away game we'd have done? Maybe in League One together. It was October, probably.
Early
Would you say?
October, yeah, maybe,
I
maybe.
just remember thinking like, wow, we're playing at a 20,000 plus seater stadium. Like Barnsley, obviously, we're in the Premier League. Just like this was just kind of felt like Luton are back now. This is where we should be playing. I just remember thinking like, yeah, Oakwell's just felt good to be in Oakwell in a proper stadium compared to the
Yeah.
tiny places that we'd been having to go to for
It,
far too long.
if it wasn't the first away game we went to, it was definitely the first one in that ilk of stadium, the
Yeah,
20,000 seater, the
like,
big,
oh, this is
we're
it.
back.
We're back in relative big time. Yeah.
I guess it's probably similar to what we had about 3 or 4 years earlier, maybe even longer than that, maybe 5 years when we went to Portsmouth when we were back in League Two, and I thought finally a proper football ground after all the crap. So
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I forgot about that. That's a long time ago. Yeah, Portsmouth. But in more recent memory of Barnsley, I thought, oh yeah, we're playing at proper grounds. This is nice. League One football. This is a respectable level. I'm happy with Luton being here.
I couldn't agree more with you on that. So character out of 10, I have to give it a 9. I think it was really great. So what about yourself? This is going to get a very high ranking, isn't it?
Yeah, they're doing well. I think you're being more generous than I am. I'll give that an 8 as well. But yeah, Barnsley, Oakwell should be proud of the score we're giving it.
It's a very nice ground. It was a moment. I guess it was a good moment for Luton fans to know that, as you mentioned, you're back at that sort of level. And although the result wasn't great, there were some nice moments for the day. Some reunions with players, some players that we didn't know were going to be heroes for us later in the season. So
Hmm.
overall, it was a very good day despite the result and a very easy ground to get to. So it's all positive on this one, which is unusual.
Yep. So there's a consensus. We thumbs up for Oakwell.
We like Oakwell. That is definitely going to keep the Barnsley fans off our back for now, I hope. Thank you very much for watching this one. Thank you again to Tom for joining me, as he will be for the next 28 or 30 weeks as well for this regular feature. And hopefully, we'll be able to do another lot next season once we start playing football again. If you did enjoy the video, please do put a thumbs up on it. Let us know the answer to all of our questions from our lack of research down in the comments.
Dua
We do
Lipa.
appreciate it. Don't tell us about Dua Lipa because there are better things in the world like football. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, we'll have a new episode from this one every week until we've run out of grounds or football starts again. And there's also Football Manager content every day as well. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.